Hi everyone. As somebody who crosses over between the worlds of WordPress and Laravel quite a bit, I do like to cross-pollinate ideas and tools across that bridge between those two technologies and communities. And one place this has happened recently has been with the Tinkerwell app. That is, as it says, a magical PHP Tinker app for macOS, Windows, and Linux. This tool is created by a guy called Marcel. Marcel does loads of cool stuff in the Laravel world, and he has built this tool, and I want to show it to you today and try and encourage you to buy it and use it. Let's just quickly switch into Sublime and see what we will talk through today. I'll explain what a Tinker app is and where the idea of a Tinker app comes from. We'll look at how an app like this is useful in WordPress. I'll show you some stuff that I was doing just this week with Tinkerwell in regular WordPress in a starter theme like Sage or similar, and using WPML, which is a multilingual plugin, which I've been working with this week. And then I'll encourage you to go and get it. Let's get started. Let's see what exactly is a Tinker app. So in the Laravel world, there is a command line interface. And if you've ever used the WordPress command line, you might be familiar with some of these command line ideas. So for WordPress, you would type WP and some command. And the same is true in the Laravel world. There is a command line part of the Laravel framework, and it's called Artisan. You typically run it by typing PHP artisan and then some command, and you get a list of commands as help, just as you would with the WordPress command line. And one of the things you can do with Artisan is you can do PHP artisan tinker, and this opens a shell, or what is called a read, evaluate, print loop, where whatever I type in is evaluated within my Laravel application and then returned to me. This actually works just like the WP shell command, where I can type stuff in here and I can evaluate PHP stuff and see what it gives me. So this is called a REPL, or read, evaluate, print loop. And the Tinker part of Laravel does exactly the same thing. And it enables me to not only just run PHP, but I can run the Laravel specific commands. So I may, for example, want to list all my users in this system. And so if I evaluate this piece of PHP, I get back a list of users, which in this case are all just test users. So this is what Tinker does. It's like a shell that runs, or a command line that runs inside of your application and allows you to do application stuff inside your command line. Tinkerwell takes this to the next level by pulling that inside an app and automatically evaluating it for you and keeping your code available to edit. It's like a code editor that evaluates your code and shows you the answers. So switch back to Firefox, and I've set up a really simple, clean WordPress install here. It looks like it's not running a theme, but I'll come back and talk about that later. It is actually running a theme. What we'll do, we'll start off doing the basic regular WordPress stuff in Tinkerwell, and then we'll progress from there into other places. So this is Tinkerwell, and whatever I type on the left will be evaluated, and the response will be shown on the right. Just like that. I can convert a string to lowercase. I can convert it to uppercase, and you may notice that if I misspell something, it's actually evaluating on the fly as I type and giving me back errors until I actually have some valid code. So that's interesting with PHP. What can we do with WordPress? Well, one place I've found it useful for is just testing out the results of functions. And yeah, the WordPress documentation will give you this information, but sometimes it's just great to try something out in real life. So I can, for example, do get categories, and that will return a list of categories in my system. I only have one because it's a fairly clean install, but I can then see from here all of the output that I get from calling this function. I can see it's a WP term object, and I can see what all of the fields inside that object are. So that's kind of cool, and I can develop this. So let's say I want all of my term IDs. Well, I can do a WP list pluck to get that list. It's just giving me back one, which is the term ID of the one category that I have. So we can start to do this kind of thing. We can even copy and paste a function in here. Let's say this is a function. So here's my function, and then when I call it, I get back this. And so what's happening here is it's evaluating all of this code, but it's only displaying me the result of the last thing that got evaluated. So this is great. This enables me to build up this function inside Tinkerwell, immediately see what the results of calling that function are until I've got a function that I'm happy with, and then I could copy that back into my code. So a place where I was doing this week was with WP list pages, which gives you back an HTML list of the pages in your system. And there's various different parameters that you can pass to this. So you may, for example, want to change the title, which has changed this text to at the very top to all the things. Or maybe you want to delete the title altogether. And this is really handy because I can just modify these parameters and see in real time pretty much what the effect of that change is on the output that I'm getting. And then once I'm done, I can copy that code back into my plugin or my theme or whatever I'm creating. Another good example is maybe you want to create a shortcode. So over in Sublime Text, I have created a really simple shortcode that gives me a Chuck Norris joke. Marcel, who created Tinkerwell, also created a Chuck Norris joke generator. I'm just making use of that here. So I'm adding the shortcode Chuck Norris joke. It's calling this function. This is namespacing. If you've not seen this before, this is just because I'm inside the Sage starter theme. And so it's calling this Chuck Norris joke shortcode here, and this is creating a new joke factory object, and then it's returning the result of getting a random joke. So I want to know, is this shortcode working properly? And I can do that from inside Tinkerwell by using the WordPress do shortcode function. And what was my shortcode called? It was called Chuck Norris joke. So I can just paste this in here, and hopefully you'll see over on the right hand side I get a random Chuck Norris joke. Now I might want that inside some markup or something. Maybe I want this inside some strong tags. Great, and now I want to test that output. So I can come back here and I can go and run that code, which I can do with Command R if it's not auto updated, and hopefully that will bring back my joke inside strong tags. This is a great way to do something like develop a shortcode or a function, and again, then copy it back into your code once you're happy with the output of it. So let's take a look at how this can work nicely with something like the Sage starter theme that I've used, or some other theme which gives you a level of abstraction from WordPress itself. Sage is created by the Roots community. It's a really good WordPress starter theme that gives you some loads of extra stuff on top of WordPress itself. Really recommended to try it out if you like modern sort of development practices in PHP. And you'll see over in my editor, here is my front page controller. So this provides data to the front end template of my theme. And I've created a function here called latest. And this is just going to return the result of getting 3 posts ordered by post title. And again, we can test this out from inside Tinkerwell. We could call get post directly, or we can actually try and call this controller. So let's go back into Tinkerwell. We can make a new front page controller, and we can see immediately that's given us back a front page object. And then we can call the latest method on that. And that gets us the 3 latest posts. And I can see here are all my WP post objects with all of the fields that come out of them. And so again, I can build up some function or do some querying in here. I can say, well, what's the first item here? And what happens if I get the, oh, that's not worked. Yes, that did work. Or I can get the post title and so on. So you can build up whatever you like inside Tinkerwell, and again, really usefully immediately see the results. So great for things like Sage, or developing using any kind of starter kit that maybe gives you some functions, or if you're developing some functions of your own that you want to try out, you can do that really easily inside Tinkerwell. Finally, this week I was working with WPML, the multilingual plugin, and WPML has some filters and hooks that you can hook into. And I was just trying these out. So these are quite awkward to test out by putting into code. But you'll see here, one of the things we can do with WPML is we can get the language details for a post using the WPML post language details filter here. And I pass that an empty value and a post ID, and it gives me back some information. But I want to see exactly what information I'm getting back from it, because though there's an example here, I might want to see exactly what I'm getting for a specific post or something. So I can take this here, copy it into Tinkerwell. I've installed and configured WPML in my system. This empty value is going to be an empty value, and then I'm going to pass a post ID. So let's just pop into WordPress and go and look at my post list. So you'll see I've got a Hello World post here that has a French translation and a Spanish translation already created. So I might want to see some of the details of the French translation. Let's switch into French mode up here. And then I can, if I hover over the edit, down in the bottom left down here, it will pop up the link to say this is post ID number 7. So if I switch back to Tinkerwell, I can give this post ID number 7, and that gives me back the language information coming from the WPML filter. So this again was great just for checking out like what are the details of some posts that I was debugging language relationships for, and just being able to do that in real time really quickly using Tinkerwell. So hopefully you've seen the possibilities of using Tinkerwell, though it's started out as a tool for Laravel and the Tinker language is Laravel language. Hopefully you can see that what Marcel has built here works really, really well inside WordPress. He's built WordPress functionality into it by default. And if you think it's useful, then I would suggest you go and buy it. It costs, in the UK where I am, it costs $11.99 plus VAT, I think, which is incredibly cheap for what it does. And it's a tool which I use, if not every day, then at least a few times a week. And it saves me quite a lot of time tinkering with my code. I have an affiliate link here, which I'd appreciate you using to thank me for producing this overview and sharing the ideas in Tinkerwell with you. That link is w4e.uk/tinker. If you could use that, that'll pass a little bit of money my way, and I would appreciate that. And go and support Marcel and the awesome work that he is doing in making things like this. Hope this was a useful overview. Pop me a line if you have any questions about how to use it. And yeah, I hope you found this useful.